Well, thank you for clicking on this link. I'm tntulak, and this is Filmmakering Like a Boss. But you probably already knew that because you clicked on this link. Now, I don't claim to be an expert, but I am an award-winning filmmaker, and more than that, I have a passion for filmmaking, which is all you really need to get started. It was requested of me to talk about how I edit overlapping footage in my videos. Chad, this one's for you. If you notice, in my videos, I'll stop talking. That's right, I just stop talking, and then start the next sentence before it actually cuts to the next sentence. So the clips actually overlap. This is a technique that you'll see in movies and TV like all the time. You'll have like a conversation between multiple people. One person will say something and then somebody else will start talking before we actually cut to that person. Or somebody will say something and then we'll cut to some B-roll, look at something else while that person is still talking. If you have an editing program that uses layers, this is actually a very simple thing to do. I'm using Final Cut Pro 7. I've been a little hesitant to upgrade to X, partially because I have hipster-esque tendencies and would like to keep using the thing that I know and love, and partially because, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that X does away with layers, which I think is a stupid idea, because I use layers all the time, as you can clearly see in these videos. I'm talking to you about layers right now even. But hey, I'm just one guy. I mean, my opinion is just one guy's opinion. So, you know, whatever the industry standard goes to is what the industry standard goes to. But if you're using an editing software that doesn't have layers, then this technique is a little bit more complicated. Anyways, you have to kind of know beforehand that this is what you plan on doing so you can leave yourself the room to do it. So, like, for example, once you finish talking, you gotta hold for a second before you move on to the next thing, or before you look away to look. My script is over here, so every time I finish talking, I hold for a second, and then I go look at my script. If you just finish talking right away and then you're leaving yourself no room to overlap anything. But if you know ahead of time, you can leave yourself the room. And yeah. With that in mind, once you have your footage imported into your editing software and you've gone through and cut out all of the takes that you want to use, and you've cut out all of the pauses? What's pauses? Thinking, moments of silence, take all that stuff out. Then what I do is I take the individual clip of the one take I want to use, and I cut it right at the very beginning of the sound of the first word of the take, and then maybe 1 or 2 frames into, not too far because I don't want it to be too jarring, but I want it to sound like it starts talking immediately. So 1 or 2 frames into the sound of the first word of that take. Then I cut the end of the clip a few seconds after the sound of the last word. So you're left with a take that looks like this. Then give yourself a couple of layers, however many you think you might like to use. I typically use like 5 or so for the video part, and if for every 1 layer of video, you need 2 layers of audio, and then I give myself a couple extra layers for the music. So my timeline probably has about 8 layers on it, give or take. The thing to remember about editing with layers is that whatever's on the top layer is what we're going to see. So once you have all your clips cut out into individual regions like so, then you want to place the first region on the highest layer. Then take the second region and place it on the layer underneath it, and move it underneath the region on the top layer so it overlaps. This is a screenshot that I took while editing this video right now. The regions all overlap going down the layers. It looks like a staircase. Now for this, you really want to make sure you get the timing right. You don't want the second region, the second clip, to start too soon, because then you're cutting off. You also don't want the second region to start too late, because then you'll have all big extra awkward pause in the middle. Basically, you want the second region to start talking as the last sound of the last word from the first region is fading out. So they overlap, but just barely. And the timing is all in the editing here. Editing with layers opens up a world of possibility with things like this, because this technique can be applied to other things. Take a look at this clip from one of my short films.
Those are not mere cuffs, as I'm sure you're now well aware of. Rather, my greatest invention. I have created many ungodly machines and have discovered many innovations. I have even witnessed the destruction of worlds and the birth of countless others. However,
you'll notice that we're still hearing Matt's monologue while we're cutting away to Derek and Dana's reactions. This was easily accomplished using layers. Matt's monologue is on the bottom layer and the sound keeps going, but because Derek and Dana's reactions are on the top layer, we cut from Matt talking to Derek and Dana's monologue, or Derek and Dana's reactions, but we're still listening because it's just placed on the top layer. And thanks to Kuleshov and his effect, I can move the top layers, the clips of Dana and Derek's reactions, I can move them around, place them anywhere, and have them reacting to anything that I want. Now, if you're using an editing software that doesn't have layers, this is still possible, but it becomes a little bit more complicated. iMovie and most iMovie equivalents do not have layers. In this case, you actually have to separate the audio and the video into two separate regions and edit them individually. A hands-on experience is the best way to learn how to be good at editing. Just film something. It doesn't even matter what. Put the camera at one thing and something else, anything. Or download footage from the internet. No one's gonna see it but you, so download anything and just practice editing it. And I promise the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Chad, thank you very much for the great question. And of course, I still have a whole lot to say about this, but I just can't give it all away in one video, so hit that subscribe button so you can follow along on the next episode of Filmmakering Like a Boss. Here at the end screen, I would like to cordially invite you to see some of my filmmakering in action by clicking on one of these links over here, which will take you to individual playlists for each respective link. And I would like to invite you to consider supporting the Easily Amused group on Patreon, as we are getting ready to work on another big project coming up here in the next few weeks or so, and we could use all the support that we could get. And thank you for watching the Easily Amused group, the show that came back in time to prevent a war with the machines but can't prove it because only organic material can come through.